Hi, Nano Prep is coming up in November. Now, if you've never heard of Nano Prep, it's basically a 30-day challenge to write 50,000 words. Now, I've participated myself in the past, and why I decided to do this series, which I hope will help you whether you've participated before or you've been thinking about participating before. I will put the link to the playlist at the bottom of this video so that you can check out the other videos for yourself. So, hi, welcome. If you don't know who I am, my name is Elke Feuer. I'm an author and a fiction book coach. So, today I'm going to share with you how to prepare your story. Now, basically, I broke it into two ways. The first is with an outline, or as I like to call it, a story Bible. And the second, which is for really plotters, and then the second one is for pansters, which is a little bit more summarized because a lot of times plotters and pansters are very different writers. So I wanted to share both ways that you can prepare your stories depending on which one you are. Okay, as I mentioned, for the outline, I personally like to create what I call a story Bible. And basically that is a Word document that I use, and it's a very detailed outline of everything that I know about my story. And I basically break it into 5 parts. It is the story, characters, settings, and worlds, which I don't really use the worlds, but I add that for my clients, and also research and any story issues. Now, that's, like I said, the high level of the story Bible and everything that goes with it. And now, a lot of times when I start it, I don't always know everything about it, but this story Bible allows me to brainstorm everything before the story as well as use it while I'm writing the story. And I expand the characters, the story, the settings, everything is in one document and makes it easy for me to find, so I'm not having to scroll through the whole entire book looking for what I need. And for my story, what I do is I use a 5-point story arc to start with. And basically that's just the beginning, the inciting incident, the middle, the climax, and the end. And I just brainstorm everything that I know to do with those 5 points. Now, if I know more about the stories, and I'll break it into scenes, those kind of things, which I also put in my story Bible. But just for the sake of when I'm first starting a story and I don't know much about it, that is what I use to help me get started and get the creative juices flowing. Right? And now for my characters, the same thing. I work through, identify all the main characters. I put with them everything that I know about them, whether it's their physical characteristics, what their goal, motivation, anything that's going to stop them from achieving it, any quirks, any little things about them that I know. And like I said, I add to as I'm writing the story, all goes into the character section of my story Bible. And as I mentioned, it makes it easy to go back and find information that I need about the characters, because let's face it, sometimes we're writing and we're like, well, what was that character's color of their eyes, or something about them that we can't remember, and we don't want to go searching through the document. And I find the story Bible is really good for that, not just for prepping your story and preparing to write, but also while you're writing the story as a reference document as well too. So the next thing with the settings, same thing. Any settings that I know that are going to happen in the story, I write as much detail as I can. I like to use my 5 senses if I know the story, the settings really well, and just summarize them out and put as much detail as possible. With the worlds, like I said, that's not something that I use, but I add that for my clients as well too, which really breaks down everything that you need to know about building a world, as well as language, technology, cultures, customs, all of those things are in that section of the story Bible as well too. For research, I like to add this, and this is basically as I'm sort of brainstorming and I think, okay, I don't really know much about that. what is it that I'm going to need to research, I like to add it then and there, because a lot of times, one, it prevents me from wanting to go and do the research on that subject instead of writing, which you need to know that information, but you might not need that in the process of while you're prepping your story. But you need to know that it's something that you need to research at a later date. So I like to use that section for those kind of things. And same for the story issues. I find sometimes as I'm brainstorming, I might be like, well, this might be an issue. So let me think about it's something that I know I'm going to need to resolve at some point. I like to put that in those sections as well too, so that it's something that I'm aware of, so that when I get to a point in my story, I either have to know that it's something I need to think about while I'm writing, or perhaps it's something that I need to resolve before I'm full on in the story. That's where I like to put that information as well too. I also use that as I'm writing the story and I think, oh, this is going to be an issue. Let me write it down so that it's not something that I forget about. So that is what I use how I do my outlining, and how I recommend to my clients as well too, as they're developing my story. Now, for pansters, what I suggest is two things. The first is I recommend them to do what I call a premise of their story, which is basically your elevator pitch. If somebody came up to you and asked, tell me what your book is about, you wouldn't necessarily go on a whole long spiel telling them about, the characters and everything that's going to happen to them and all the details of they started here and then they went to here and then this happened. That you're probably going to lose somebody if you're trying to just, when they ask you, what is your book about? So this is just basically one quick sentence, elevator pitch. What is your story about? Okay? And the second thing that I have them do is to write out a book description. And basically this is what is going to go on the back of your book, which is a little bit more detailed than your story premise, because you have to know a little bit about your characters and what their journey is going to be, the beginning, and then how the story is going to end. So that's what I like to do for my plotters. I find that it helps them not feel the overwhelm of trying to do an outline, because it just doesn't work for them. But it also gives them something to go for, or have, I should say, when they are actually writing the story, and that excitement that pansters get when they start writing and then suddenly it's like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm going to write next. Then they have these two things that they can go back to as their guide, so they're not sitting there staring at a blank screen. I've found that that's worked really well for my characters and myself as well too, because there are some stories that I start as a panster, and I find doing those two things in the past have really helped me. However, to be honest, I'm a plotter all the way, and I found that out the hard way. However, to get started, I start with the book premise, the book description, and then I move into the other things for plotting, which really, really helps me to actually finish my story. All right, so that's it for me of what I recommend as far as how you can prep your book for NANO. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What do you do? Do you just kind of just show up November 1st and you're like, well, I have an idea of my story and I've just sort of jotted down a few notes? Or do you actually go through a long process beforehand? Some writers prepare a whole month, Preptober, which is this month, whereas some writers do it a week before, 2 weeks before. I would love to hear how you actually prepare your book for NANO if you participate. Now, if you haven't participated before and you're thinking about it, or you're just always looking, like me, for different ways of developing your story, I want to invite you to download my workbook, NANO Prep, and it's actually really great because it works both for NANO and Camp NANO. It's a step-by-step guide that helps you walk through how to prepare your story for NANO so that you are ready to start writing instead of staring at a blank screen or getting stuck when the excitement of the thrill of that story has worn off after you hit sort of the 1 month mark or the 2 week mark. All right, so thank you guys so much. I want to also invite you to watch the other videos in the playlist. I will link the playlist and the workbook to in the video description below. All right, have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you in next week's video. Oh my goodness, please, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And also, if you'd love to have more content about how to write your fiction book, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. All right, see you in the next video. Bye.